In the autumn of the year, when the clouds hung oppressively low in the heavens, I had been passing alone on horseback through a singularly dreary tract of country, and found myself, as the shades of the evening drew on, within view of the melancholy house of Usher. I know not what it was, but with the first glimpse, a sense of insufferable gloom pervaded my spirit. I looked upon the scene before me, upon the mere house. What was it that so unnerved me in the contemplation of the house of Usher? Its proprietor, Roderick Usher, had been my companion in boyhood, but many years had elapsed since our last meeting. A letter, however, had lately reached me in a distant part of the country. It was a letter from him. He spoke of an acute bodily illness, of a mental disorder which oppressed him, and of an earnest desire to see me, his only personal friend. As I pondered these things, I made my way over a short causeway to the house. A valet of stealthy step thence conducted me in silence through many dark and intricate passages, adorned with somber tapestries on the walls and carvings in the ceilings, in my progress to the personal chambers of Roderick Usher. The room in which I found myself was very large, very lofty, the windows long, narrow, and pointed, and so vast a distance from the dark oaken floor as to be altogether inaccessible from within. The general furniture was profuse, antique, tattered. Many books and musical instruments lay scattered about, but failed to offer any vitality to the scene. I felt as if I breathed in an atmosphere of sorrow. Upon my entrance, Usher arose from a sofa in which he had been lying at full length and greeted me with a vivacious warmth, which I had only regarded as nothing more than an overdone cordiality. His complexion was cadaverous, and he was a more shadowy version of the man that I once knew. His silky hair, now more web-like, clung to his temples, and his voice was unsteady, as if he feared to trust his own senses. The conditions of the atmosphere of this house have molded the destinies of my family, he said to me, his voice trembling. There is an influence, a curse, that no mortal can escape. Tell me, you must feel it, my friends. You must feel the decay that pervades this air. I tried my best to offer my comfort, but his words had a profound, disquieting truth to them. The entire mansion, from its foundation to the crumbling turrets, breathed forth an air of sorrow. I could see it in every stone of its dilapidated exterior, every shadowed corner of its vast interior. It seemed as if the entire structure were on the brink of collapse, as if the house itself were a living, sentient being, bound to the fate of its master. The disease of Lady Madeline Usher, Roderick's sister, had long baffled the skill of her physicians. She was scarcely visible during my stay. She passed through remote portions of the house like a shadow, pale and quiet, a living corpse. One evening, Roderick informed me that the Lady Madeline was no more. Her death was sudden, though not unexpected. His reaction was that of a strange calmness, a resignation to the inevitable. He then stated his intentions of preserving her body for a fortnight in the house. Now, given the unusual nature of Madeline's death, the obtrusive and eager inquiries on the part of the medical attendants, and the remote and distant part of her family burial grounds, I felt no need to oppose what I had assumed was At best, a harmless and by no means unnatural precaution. Together, we placed her body in the tomb. We partly unscrewed the lid of the coffin and looked upon her face. We then replaced the lid and screwed it back down, and after having secured the door of iron, made our way to the scarcely less gloomy upper portions of the house. Many days passed, and Roderick's demeanor grew more and more disturbed. He wandered the halls aimlessly, eyes wide with fear. He spoke of strange sounds, noises, whispers, and footfalls that had no origin. It seemed that the storm that gathered outside was a reflection of his inner turmoil. You must not, shall not behold this, I said to him, pulling him away from the window. Here, let's close this window. The air is dangerous to you, my friend. Let us read one of your favorite novels to pass this terrible night. I picked up an antique volume, Mad Tryst by Sir Lancelot Canning. And as I read, I heard a distant, dull sound, an exact echo of the tales described, cracking and ripping. Usher's demeanor had now changed. He was trembling, facing the door. Usher, now rigid and shuddering, then muttered, "We placed her living in the tomb. Now she comes her struggles, her heartbeat, her footsteps on the stairs." He leaped up and shrieked, "Madman! I tell you now that she stands at the door!" And as if by spell, the door swung open. And there stood the blood-stained, emaciated figure of Madeline Usher. For a moment, she remained trembling, reeling to and fro upon the threshold. And then, with a low, moaning cry, fell heavily inward upon her brother, and in her violent, now final death agonies, bore him to the floor, a corpse. Horrified, I fled the mansion. As I crossed the courtyard, a wild flash of light then shone. The blood-red moon seemed to go through this fissure in the house of Usher, which then widened rapidly. The walls began to crumble, and in a final, tumultuous roar, sullenly and silently closed in upon itself. As then fell the final fragments of the house of Usher.